Deep in a quiet valley in northeastern Germany, a chance discovery in the late 1990s began unraveling one of Europe's greatest prehistoric mysteries. What started as an unassuming find, a single human bone jutting from the soil with a flint arrowhead embedded in it, has since revealed a sprawling Bronze Age battlefield, older than any previously known in Europe. It is a site so extraordinary that it forces historians to rethink everything they believed about warfare and social organization in prehistoric Northern Europe. Welcome to the Tollense Valley, where over 3,000 years ago thousands of warriors clashed in a bloody, day-long struggle. A battle long forgotten but now rewriting the story of early Europe. An unexpected discovery in a peaceful landscape. The Tollense Valley lies in the state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, a picturesque region filled with lakes, wetlands, and national parks. Its landscape seems untouched, a haven for hikers and nature lovers rather than soldiers. That serenity made the 1997 find by a local conservation volunteer all the more shocking. Expecting nothing more than natural scenery, he stumbled on a human arm bone with a stone arrowhead still lodged inside. Archaeologists were intrigued but cautious. Weapons and scattered human remains from the Bronze Age had occasionally turned up in European rivers since the 1980s. Many were thought to be ritual offerings or isolated incidents. But the Tollense discovery soon snowballed. More bones emerged, alongside ancient weapons. Wooden clubs, hammer-like tools, and later bronze arrowheads. The site clearly wasn't just a burial ground. Something larger had happened here, challenging the myth of a peaceful North. Until this find, many scholars pictured Northern Europe's Bronze Age, roughly 2,200 to 800 BCE, as relatively tranquil. The population was sparse, and excavated swords and shields were often interpreted as ceremonial rather than functional. Compared to the complex states of the Mediterranean and the Near East, the North seemed like a quiet backwater. The Tollense Valley began to dismantle that narrative. Here was physical evidence of organized large-scale combat far earlier, and far deadlier, than anyone had suspected in this region. It suggested that societies in the North might have been more politically sophisticated and capable of mobilizing warriors than previously assumed. A battlefield frozen in time. In 2007, full-scale excavations finally began. Archaeologists peeled back layers of peat bog, the same type of waterlogged ground that famously preserves bog bodies elsewhere in Europe. The valley stretches for at least 5 kilometers, and its soils had kept ancient remains astonishingly intact. Metal detectorists swept the area for weapons, underwater teams mapped the old riverbed, and drones and laser scanners charted the terrain. Gradually, a haunting picture emerged. This wasn't a settlement or a sacrificial site. It was a battlefield, frozen in time. Among the most striking finds were 13,000 human and horse bone fragments, representing at least 750 to possibly 1,500 individuals. Radiocarbon dating placed the conflict around 1300 to 1200 BCE in the heart of the Nordic Bronze Age, contemporaneous with mighty empires like Egypt and the Hittites, who were fighting their own wars hundreds of miles away. Warriors, weapons, and a day of carnage. Most of the Tollense dead were young men between 20 and 40, prime fighting age, though women and children were also present, perhaps as non-combatants caught in the chaos or as part of a migrating group under attack. Many skeletons showed lethal trauma, smashed skulls, arrow wounds, and deep blade cuts. Some bore older, healed injuries, evidence that these men were experienced fighters who had survived earlier skirmishes. The variety of weapons paints a vivid scene. Wooden clubs, bronze arrowheads, spears, knives, bows, and even sickle-like blades. Dozens of bronze arrowheads have been recovered, some still lodged in bones. Though swords themselves are missing, likely scavenged by victors, cut marks typical of sword blows are present on many remains. Horse bones from at least 5 animals prove that mounted warriors were involved, adding another layer of tactical sophistication. One of the earliest discoveries, the humerus pierced by a flint arrowhead, even hints at an archer shooting a horseman. Perhaps an ambush or desperate counterattack. How big was this battle? The numbers are astonishing for the era. Archaeologists estimate 750 to 1,500 dead, meaning the total forces could have been 3,000 to 5,000 combatants if typical casualty rates, 20 to 25%, applied. That's on par with battles fought in early medieval Europe nearly 2 millennia later. Despite the Bronze Age's far lower population density, just 3 to 5 people per square kilometer in this region. Organizing such an army would have been no small feat. Someone had to recruit, arm, feed, and lead thousands of men across the rugged forests and wetlands of prehistoric Europe. This hints at far more complex political and military structures than anyone had credited the Nordic Bronze Age with before Tollense came to light. More than just a fight, a window into society. The battle wasn't random chaos, but a carefully prepared conflict shaped by long-term settlement and strategy. Geomagnetic surveys uncovered a 120-meter wooden and stone causeway across the valley, first built 500 years before the clash, and possibly rebuilt to control movement through this vital crossing. Nearby, archaeologists found gold spiral rings and rare tin artifacts, key to bronze production, suggesting the site lay on important trade routes and that controlling the bridge meant controlling a critical link in the Bronze Age economy. After the fighting, victors stripped the fallen of valuable weapons and armor before dumping bodies into the river, showing the combatants were no mere raiders but fought for resources worth plundering. One grim area revealed 1,478 bones in a dense 12-meter span, likely marking a desperate last stand, with unhealed wounds testifying to a swift and brutal end. Outsiders, locals, or both? Who exactly fought at Tollense remains unknown. No written records survive. Northern Europe hadn't yet developed writing systems. DNA and isotope studies suggest the combatants weren't all local. Some came from distant regions, perhaps from southern Central Europe or beyond. This has led to theories of migrating warriors or raiding parties clashing with a local population defending its homeland. The presence of women and children hints at the possibility of a traveling group, maybe settlers or traders, ambushed or forced to defend themselves. Alternatively, they could have been camp followers supporting an army, as seen in later historical periods, rethinking the Bronze Age. Before Tollense, scholars often imagined the Nordic Bronze Age as a world of artisans, traders, and small chiefdoms exchanging goods with richer Mediterranean cultures. The battlefield tells a different story. A world capable of mass mobilization, strategic warfare, and political complexity long before the rise of literate European states. The fact that such a large battle took place where population density was minimal suggests networks of alliances or emerging proto-states capable of calling men to arms. It also raises questions about long-distance trade in metals like tin and copper, resources crucial for making bronze and potentially worth fighting over. A rare prehistoric snapshot. Battlefields rarely survive in the archaeological record. Ancient wars usually leave only burned settlements or scattered grave goods, not the battlefield itself. Tollense is extraordinary because the peat bog preserved both bones and artifacts in situ, offering a time capsule of a single violent day around 3,200 years ago. The remains show faces of real individuals, hardened fighters with old scars, archers aiming at horsemen, and possibly terrified locals caught in the fray. Unlike mythic battles remembered in texts, this one lay forgotten until chance and science uncovered it. What lies still hidden beneath the soil? Even after decades of work, Tollense is only partially excavated. Vast stretches of the valley remain unexplored, and new finds continue to surface. More bones, more weapons, and perhaps clues to the combatants' identities. Each discovery chips away at old assumptions about prehistoric Europe. Was this a fight for trade routes? A clash between rival chiefdoms? A migration that turned violent? We may never know the full story, but the sheer scale of Tollense proves that Northern Europe's Bronze Age was far more turbulent and interconnected than once thought. And that's the incredible story of the forgotten Bronze Age battlefield of the Tollense Valley, a place that has completely changed how we see prehistoric Europe. If you enjoyed diving into this mysterious chapter of ancient history, make sure to hit the like and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.